My name is Debra Powell-Wright. I am a spoken word artist. I'm a teaching artist as well. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. That's what I do. I'm from Philly. I was actually born in Rome, New York, but I'm a Philly girl. Well, I've always loved to read. And then actually how I got to this point, I attended a workshop at Temple University's Pan-African Studies Community Education Program. I was looking for something to do. This is probably about 20 years ago or so. And so I'm looking through the catalog and I thought, well, I like to write, so I'll take this poetry writing workshop. And in that workshop, the teacher, Dr. Regina Jennings, unbeknownst to me, she had submitted our work to a contest, Sonia Sanchez, Audre Lorde Poetry Writing Contest. And I came in second place. So that led to me really being more attentive to the fact that I already enjoyed writing. And so it led to other opportunities. I feel very blessed in that regard. Inspired to write, for me, means that you have to love language, love words, love sounds, appreciate all that encompasses. And so when you start with that, and I like to encourage young people in terms of reading. When you start with that, you may find that writing might be your path. It doesn't have to be, but for me, it had to start from reading, actually. Well, I have to say too, and I've already mentioned Sonia Sanchez. I mean, receiving that second place award really allowed me to see maybe this is something that I can do and use the language to inspire. You already asked that question about being an inspiration. I also have to say an author by the name of Edwidge Danticat, her book Crick Crack, a compilation of short stories. When I read that and the poetic language in the storytelling, that's when I really, really knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write short stories in the poetic way that she was able to accomplish. And that book is very significant for me. In a word, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think, we all have, and especially I believe with poets, and probably with other writers as well, but I speak more to poets. We all have thoughts about what we want to say about what is happening in the world, and that's wonderful and beautiful. To write well, you need to, I think, you need to study. One of the things that Sonia Sanchez talked about is studying your craft. You have to do that. You have to practice that. It just doesn't happen in order to get better. So, yeah, reading, I think, informs that as well. Well, I think there's a way to combine the two. And by that I mean, my experience could be, and I wrote a poem about this, a man by the name of James Byrd, who was dragged in a town in Texas. Well, that's not my personal experience. I don't know anyone that happened to, but the idea of that happening emotionally did something to me. And so I was able to write a poem about that. So I think there's a way to combine what it is that you know and what it is that you feel in order to be creative and write creatively. Yeah. I mean, again, for me personally, the things that happen in the world, the things that impact people of color, the things that impact women and girls, these are the things that capture my attention, and I want to have something to say about it, and I want to be able to not only move myself, perhaps, from a place that I might have been and maybe not have been able to address. I want to be able to do that, as well as maybe the words that I have written down and then maybe spoken in terms of speaking it in a poetic form may even help someone. So I think, again, all of that and everything, life can inform your writing. And then, again, as I said earlier, then there's the craft. Sonia Sanchez said, regurgitate it, write it down, put it down. You can go back and do the editing and, the grammar and fix it all up, put in adjectives and, verbs and so forth and so on. But the important thing is to get it out. If you believe that it will help not only yourself but someone else. Okay, well, it's all kinds of together. So, Four Women Collective is an international spoken word performing arts ensemble. And the reason why I say that it is international is because, and if I may show this book on camera, this book called Four Women in Tribute to Nina Simone. It's a collection of short stories and poetry by women of color, 25 of them, from around the world. And I received a grant from the Leeway Foundation I wrote a proposal, and the Leeway Foundation funds women artists who are doing art for social change. I wrote a proposal, I got $2,500, I put out a call for papers, call for short stories and poems. I would say about half of the women are women that I know or have encountered. The other half are women who saw it in Nigeria, in Antigua, in Jamaica, in England, and sent me their short story or poem, and I put it in this collection. The idea came to me at my first book signing, and the ladies who were local to Philadelphia, and about 8 of them, we were in a room very similar to this, maybe a little larger, and they were reading, but they weren't just reading an excerpt. They were performing. Some of them sang a little intro before they read to give their poem or short story some context. And then it was at that moment that I realized, wow, we could really do this as a performance piece, not just, a book signing reading. And so the Four Women Collective came about from that. So the book was published in 2013. Immediately following, we started the Four Women Collective. We've been had several opportunities to perform. Our latest production is called Unsilenced, and by that, what we mean is using our stories and poetry to speak for those perhaps who are not able to speak about issues that impact women and girls, particularly women and girls of color. And so that's been our thematic approach to our recent productions, as well as we tribute Nina Simone, who of course was an activist. We tribute Sonia Sanchez. We've tributed Lorraine Hansberry and any number of women of color artists, not just writers, but women who use their art to impact the world, really. Enter. Enter. if you are the same person at 50 that you were at 20, then you've been a fool for 30 years. I would say just keep paying attention, and keep evolving. I mean, we don't have to have the, and we don't have the same opinions that we had when we were younger. And so I think the Black Lives Matter is a good thing for the young people. Do I agree with everything? Not necessarily, but I don't have to. I think that our young people having a movement just the way we had a movement, I think that's a good thing. I think that's important. And so however they come to it, I just say for them to just continue to pay attention to what's going on, and be open to information from other people, even the elders, that's really all that I can speak to about it. I can only use myself as an example, and I really think that it is, I said earlier, pay attention. Well, paying attention also means paying attention to yourself, and what is your mission or journey or agenda. We all have one. We all have an agenda. And so how much do you pay attention to that? So you can write something that's relatable. Are you doing that for yourself? Because sometimes you need to do that for yourself. That poem that you may write, or that dance you may do, you may be doing that for yourself. And perhaps I would venture to say that those stories might need to start there for yourself, and then if someone taps into it, then that may take you on a slightly different road to say, oh, this young person liked those words that I said. Maybe I can do more of that. Maybe that's what I am supposed to do. So, it's kind of sort of, I think of it almost spiritually, like doing it and being still at the same time, listening to the words, like the words in the silence, the being still for a moment to really hear what is being said. And then, having that inform your agenda. Your agenda is allowed to shift. Your agenda is allowed to change. You may start over here, like I was saying about my book. I did this book, and I didn't exactly talk about the inspiration, but what happened was I had written an essay I had answered a call for papers, an essay about women of color and body image. And I wrote an essay. I was listening to Nina Simone's song For Women. My skin is black, my skin is yellow, my skin is tan, my skin is brown. I was listening to the version, my husband had it on in the car, the version by Talib Kweli. And I was so wowed by it. Of course I had already heard Nina Simone do it, but that just brought it back, his version, to my recollection. I think is very important, and I think that we do it. I think what we individually have to be careful about doing is, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. It's kind of what I said earlier. It's no diss on you if I'm doing my thing. So, I have a 9 to 5, and there are so many hours, only so many hours in the day. So I might not get to your, open mic. I might not get to, my funding might not allow me to purchase your book. That's not a slight, In spirit, I just feel that, we can do that without necessarily always showing up, paying for, you know, these kind of things. We can't do it all. I mean, you know, I mean, after a while, we know so many people, right? So if we're paying attention so much to the support in that kind of way, the physical presence and the monetary presence, you know, we're not leaving time for ourselves. So I think it's a way to that we have to think about it, and that we not diss each other for the priorities that we individually have. I don't know yet. I really don't. I mean, that's honest. I don't know yet. The funny thing is, so I was, before I formed Four Women Collective, I was with a group called In the Company of Poets, which was formed by the young lady, Pat McLean, who had won first place in the contest, and I won second place. And we started in a poetry circle. And so I was this person who was, you know, very nervous about sharing my words. And I remember the very first time we were at an open mic, and I had written essentially a haiku, you know, and we know how short a haiku is, right? And I'm reading the haiku, and the paper's in my hand, and the paper is shaking, and, you know, there's the audience. Because it is very personal to be able to get up and stand in front of people and share a piece of yourself. And some people have no problem with that. That's very easy. But I'm really sharing this based on your question about what I have not written yet. Well, to date, I've probably only written maybe about 20 poems. Several of them have been published in other places other than, you know, in my own work. And I had one published in Essence magazine. I had one published in an anthology, a hip hop anthology. And, you know, in my opinion, those poems were very worthy of being published, necessary, you know, topical for wherever they were published. And so I don't know yet what I have not written, but I do believe that there is definitely more to write. I think, and I've been thinking about this somewhat recently because of the things that are happening. And I would say, I have to say, self-love, spread love. That's it. On social media, I'm on Facebook. I just signed up on Instagram. I'm still not sure how that works. Facebook, I have a page, Four Women Collective Philly, and there I post where the Four Women Collective will be performing, and sometimes just commentary related to Nina Simone or related to women of color and, you know, those issues that she spoke about. You know, with black women and hair, black women and how we, the conversations about skin tone, colorism, you know, these kind of things. So whatever I may see that I think will be helpful in the discussion around that, that's what I have on the Four Women Collective page. As well as, like I said, I have an Instagram, Four Women Collective Philly. I just figured out at least how to do Instagram. Now beyond that, I've only posted one thing. I've posted a brief excerpt of my poetry. In terms of the books, my co-collaborator, Pat McLean, who I mentioned earlier, she's a member of the Four Women Collective. Like I said, I'm the founder and director, and there's 25 of us. Some I haven't met yet because they live in other places in the world. But what I have done is allowed her to sell the book, Four Women in Tribute to Nina Simone, and let that benefit her organization called Tomorrow's Girls and Women, which she has a mentoring program. And so that's where they can get it through her and Her email address is pmcpoet@aol.com.
I know who it is. My name is The Indicator. Indicator. Enough said on that one. Yo, what's up? You know what it is. It's your man, The Indicator. Holla.
Tune in, man.